from the capital city of Charleston, West Virginia, this is Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis. Inside West Virginia Politics is brought to you by AARP West Virginia, your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside West Virginia Politics. I'm your host, Mark Curtis, along with my co-host, Adrian Robbins. And topping our news this week, new developments in the VA death investigation up in Clarksburg. We want to introduce attorney Tony O'Dell, who represents 9 of the victims' families of veterans who died at the VA hospital in Clarksburg. Tell us about the latest case, a 92-year-old Navy veteran. Take it from there.
We have a 92-year-old Navy veteran who was very healthy for a 92-year-old man who had his mental faculties, was pretty healthy. He developed pneumonia, which caused him to develop some bacteria in his bloodstream, which caused him to be confused and things like that. So his family took him to the ER at an outlying hospital, and he was immediately transferred to the VA Medical Center on June the 15th, I'm sorry. After a couple days in the ICU at the VA Medical Center, he made a dramatic turnaround. The bloodstream bacteria got better. He was sitting up in his bed eating, talking with his family normally, and they transferred him to 3A because he was doing so well, which is the floor where unfortunately all the deaths occurred. Once he gets to the floor, he seems to be doing fine, and then all of a sudden, 5 o'clock in the morning, they find him unresponsive. About a half hour later, they do a blood stick to check his insulin level, and he's got a level of 14. This is a man who was not a diabetic, whose blood sugars had run perfectly normal or a little bit high in all of his other hospitalizations, including the one that we were in when this happened. Because of the blood sugar issue, his body didn't get enough oxygen. He ended up having a heart attack. The man actually lived for about 11 days, which is a testament to how strong this 92-year-old man was, even with someone overdosing him on insulin.
Wow. Every week we seem to hear more and more about new cases coming forward. Do you ever worry that there's never going to be an end to this? Are we ever really going to know how expansive this is?
I honestly don't think we'll ever know how many victims there are. I think we're looking at cases that are very suspicious, but unfortunately there aren't blood sugar levels that were drawn. So we don't know if they were a victim or not a victim. And I can say that the calls have stopped. We haven't gotten any new calls probably for at least a couple weeks. So I do think that the people who have questions have called at this point.
Your firm is handling 9 of the cases. We know of 2 other attorneys that each have an individual case. Are we comfortable saying right now we know of probably 11 cases that are confirmed suspicious deaths? Only 3, by the way, have been ruled homicides at this point.
I believe 10 have been reported for sure. I believe that one of the cases we have now is going to be added to that. So I think there are at least 11.
Now, one of our reporters did talk to Dr. Richard Stone from the VA. He said he feels his hospital responded to these incidents in a timely manner. You've seen the medical records. What do you think about that?
Well, there's lots of failures that were at that VA. In order to correct mistakes, you have to admit mistakes. And I think that if Dr. Stone had been honest and just said, you know, mistakes were made, we didn't do some of the things we should have done, and then talked about what they've done to start correcting those mistakes, I think he would have come off much better. All these veterans and the public at large deserve the truth. And you know, we know that there are 3 veterans that died in April on 3 consecutive days the exact same way, and it was still 2.5 months before they reported it to the OIG under their own, when they say they reported it. We know that these deaths go back into 2017. There's no way to explain these blood levels, these blood sugar levels medically, so they should have been investigating them. And this hospital does have a history of some problems that have been outlined before. So again, just be honest with the people, say this is what we're doing to fix our problems, instead of saying we did everything right and this is just some rogue employee, because that's just not true.
We're down to about 30 seconds. Do you anticipate an arrest soon, perhaps, in this case?
We certainly hope so, Mark. We've been waiting, and we know that there's a lot of stuff to look at, because when we get records, there's thousands of pages. So we have to go through these records, and we have less cases than what they're looking at. So
All right, we want to thank Tony O'Dell, who's the attorney for 9 of the VA victims' families up in Clarksburg. We'll have you back on. The story continues to unfold. By the way, we mentioned the interview with our sister station, WBOY-TV in Clarksburg, with Dr. Richard Stone from the VA. You can see that interview in its entirety at WBOY.com. Check it out. We certainly want to give the VA an opportunity to speak to these issues as well.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Adrian.
Thank you. And we'll have more of Inside West Virginia Politics after this break.
Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. It is Veterans Day weekend, and I want to talk about some issues important to our veterans. Joining us right now is Captain James McCormick, United States Army retired. Great to have you on the program again, James.
Well, thank you very much for having me again, sir.
I want to talk a little bit first, because we just had a guest talking about the situation with the suspicious deaths up at the VA in Clarksburg. What are your concerns as to how this investigation is going in the care for veterans at that facility and others?
Yeah. Well, number one, we're very pleased to see that they have taken immediate action in that. I can tell you that we are concerned with some of the vetting processes to make sure that those people that are hired, and there's a better monitoring system that goes on so that this never happens again. And I'm sure all of those things are taking place. But some veterans are a little shaky now. They were a little worried about going to seek treatment in the past, and this has kind of hurt that reputation. And we need to work on that. The Veterans Administration, we as veterans, and we need to work together on that so that we come up with a solution and not just yelling and screaming and arguing about it, but how do we actually fix this so that it never happens again, and then obviously do the things whatever we can do to help the families that have suffered tremendously from this.
It's an unbelievable story, and we're going to continue to follow it on our television stations here in West Virginia. Let's talk about some other issues since it is Veterans Day weekend. You're a man who wears many hats as a retired military veteran. You are basically the state director of the Military Order of the Purple Heart. You have a national title as well.
Well, I'm actually the National Junior Vice Commander for the Military Order of the Purple Heart. I was elected this summer by the overwhelming majority of the members. We have just around 40,000 members nationwide, and what I do is I'm basically the third in command of this veterans organization. And our goal is to look out for the needs and the benefits and to assist all veterans, but also primarily combat wounded, their families, and Gold Star families. So we have really amped that up. We're trying to get more younger veterans involved in programs and things that are designed to assist them.
You guys have a website that's easy for people to find?
Yeah, MOPH.org, MOPH.org. Yeah.
All right. You have a hat and a badge and stuff. I want to
do,
be able
absolutely.
to show those to our audience, because I think it's important that people be able to identify members of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, because you guys provide a lot of assistance for our veterans. And talk about some of the programs going on in the state right now that are beneficial to veterans this Veterans Day weekend and beyond.
Okay. Well, I'm really tickled and just pleased as punch. Our governor has offered a 50% discount for all state parks and areas for our veterans and members of the military and their families to be able to use from the 1st to the 15th of November. Now, this isn't just for in-state. This is for out-of-state. And what that means, for me as a national leader, I can reach out and tell members all across the country, hey, if you're looking to travel, you want to come visit West Virginia, they're giving a 50% discount. And when you're talking to 40,000 members of an organization, and their families, which represent 3 times that, that's a lot of people that we're reaching out and we're touching. I think that West Virginia offers an opportunity for veterans, members of the military, to be able to come here and to relax and to just enjoy our beauty. November's a beautiful time to come here because of all of the fall foliage. And when you think about how close we are to the military installations, when I was a company commander in the Army, I would go and I would say, hey, on certain weekends during the year, we would take the families out and we'd go do something. If I'm a company commander and I'm within 6 hours to 8 hours drive from West Virginia, and I know you're giving a 50% discount, I'm calling your tourism office and I'm going to save that 50% to take all of my troops and their family members to come and enjoy this beautiful place.
Well, speaking of tourism, you have the International or National Military Order of the Purple Heart Convention coming here next year. And tell us about how important that is.
Oh, that's a wonderful thing. And
it's a big get for Charleston.
Look, for 2 years in a row we have that. So I can't take full credit for that. The Charleston's Visitors Bureau, Marriott Hotels, all of these folks, we all came together. You know, Todd, who works over at the Visitors Bureau, and Todd's a veteran too, and he has been so amazing to work with. But Charleston and the mayor, Amy, man, I mean, come on, she has just welcomed us with open arms and is going to have us, you know, be here for 2 years in a row. So this year in July and next year in July, we'll have all of the members here.
All right, we're going to have you back before that convention comes to town, the Military Order of the Purple Heart. Thank you for your service to this country, especially on this Veterans Day weekend. Captain James McCormick, thanks for being with us. We'll have more of Inside West Virginia Politics after this break. Stay with us.
Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. This Veterans Day weekend, we're talking about all kinds of veteran services and issues here in the state of West Virginia. I want to introduce the Honorable Secretary of Veterans Affairs for the state of West Virginia, Dennis Davis. Great to have you on the show again, Dennis.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here with you again.
You come here every year, and we always want to update veterans and their families on what services are available. What's new this year? I know you've opened some new service centers for veterans. Talk about that first.
We did. We opened 3 offices in this past year. Here in Charleston, we moved one in Wheeling and also in Tays Valley. And the idea being that we want to try to reach out to veterans and try to move into those communities where the largest number of veterans are located.
Now, when we go to the state veteran service offices, I know everybody's familiar with the VA hospitals in Beckley, Huntington, Clarksburg, Martinsburg, but when you go to the state VA service centers, what types of services are available there for veterans?
We provide many services through our offices, of which we have 16 around the state. And these involve benefits that veterans can receive if they're seeking health care, if they're receiving compensation for injuries or other things that happened to them while they were in the military, and for housing and education. So it's those types of things that we're providing.
Now getting to these service centers is an interesting thing, and there's been a change there because you used to operate a van service that would pick up veterans and take them to these service centers, and there was a cost involved in that and some problems with it. What is happening now? Who operates the transportation to get folks to those service centers if they need to go, or to the VA? Yes,
you're absolutely right. Those services are provided by the Disabled American Veterans. It's actually a program, Mark, that they originated. And West Virginia several years ago decided to take charge of a portion of it, but we found it didn't work that well under our supervision because of cost. And so we transferred it back to the Disabled American Veterans, and they are currently operating that program in the state.
Yeah, because it's important that folks have transportation. Otherwise, to have these facilities without access is a problem.
That's right.
One other thing that is new this year is there was a change in the taxation on Social Security income and veterans benefits that the legislature passed, the governor signed. Talk about that in terms of how it helps our veterans.
Yes, many states had started this idea of exempting the retirement pay of veterans. In other words, people who were in the military for 20 years or more are eligible to retire, and they receive pay for the rest of their lives through that. And with this legislature and through the governor's urging, exempt those salaries or those benefits from the tax from the state.
And it's a complicated thing when you get into taxes. Can people call your office and get some guidance on this or advice? I realize you're not an accounting service, but your office might be able to point them in the right direction.
Oh,
correct?
we can. Okay, we'll help them 100%. Just give us a call and we'll get them squared away on that.
What else new are we doing for veterans, and what's going on at the veteran cemeteries around the state?
Well, we have only one here in the Institute, and I think you've had a chance to visit that
facility.
It's
beautiful. It's really breathtaking.
Right. And we are interring veterans routinely. We'll have anywhere from 1 to 3 a day in some cases, Mark. And right now, this past year or so, we buried over 600. Yeah. The total now is around 1,200 to be buried there. But we have space for 60,000, so it's a pretty large facility. on 350 acres, which was donated by the Dow Chemical Company here in West Virginia.
It's a breathtaking and beautiful tribute to our veterans to be interred there. I've been to a number of ceremonies there. There is a Gold Star Memorial there for to honor the families that have lost someone in service to their country. Update us on the situation of getting another Gold Star Memorial at the Capitol grounds.
Right. We have plans now in place to add a Gold Star Families Memorial to the Capitol grounds. We've already poured the footers and laid the foundation, and right now we're only waiting on the memorial to arrive.
Wow.
It's had a hitch. It's on a ship, and through the one of the tornadoes or hurricanes that came through delayed that. So we're going to do that in April.
Well, I promise we will be there for the groundbreaking of that monument. It's going to be a wonderful tribute. I want to thank you for your service. I know you served 2 years in the U.S. Army in the field artillery at Fort Sill in Oklahoma. My daughter's heading there in February. She's going to do her training there. But God bless you and thank you for all you've done for our country and our veterans. Dennis Davis.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for this having us.
You're very welcome. We'll have you on again. And we'll have more of Inside West Virginia Politics after this break. Stay with us.
Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to our final segment this week on Inside West Virginia Politics. We've been talking about veterans. Of course, a big group of veterans happen to be in the AARP. Right, we want to welcome Rich Stonestreet, the West Virginia State President of the AARP, soon to be leaving that position. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Right.
I want to talk about the fact that November is National Family Caregiver Month. That is something near and dear to you folks. Why?
Right, and we work with caregivers on a regular basis. We try to provide support for caregivers year-round, obviously, year after year, but because we're a special recognition this month, so that's a good thing to talk about.
And it's an important job. It's one that goes unnoticed maybe in society. Caregivers usually are family members, the children of someone who's elderly perhaps. They're staying in their home rather than being cared for in a nursing home and a hospital. A lot of people, I know my parents wanted to be at home and stay at home until the day they left this earth, and they did.
We all do, and it really touches everybody. We like to say at AARP that everybody either has been, is, or will be a caregiver or will be cared for. And right now we have about 1 out of every 6 West Virginians, about 300,000 people, are caregivers, and they're providing. If you add up all of the caregiving that they do, and if they were paid, that would amount to about $2.8 billion. That's unpaid work that they're doing.
Yeah, we should mention AARP of West Virginia is a sponsor of Inside West Virginia Politics every week. We appreciate that and love the support you guys give us in putting this program out there. Obviously, you guys are very active at the legislature every year.
Right.
You got a thing called the CARE Act passed.
CARE Act, right.
What does that do? How did that help caregivers?
That was about 4 years ago. I think it was 2015. And what it does, it facilitates admission and discharge from the hospital. Sometimes that can be, despite everybody's good intentions, and everybody at the hospital does a great job. We have great health care providers, but sometimes there are communications problems and there are difficulties. And so when you're admitted to the hospital, a person is designated as your caregiver, and that person is involved in the discussions, involved in all the discussions that go on concerning that person's care. When you're discharged, there may be special instructions. For example, maybe wound healing or medicine giving or whatever. And that's what the CARE Act does. It mandates that those things happen. Again, this is not an attack on the hospitals. They do a great job, but sometimes communications break down. Yeah. Sometimes we've had stories where people were on their way home and they get a call, so, oh no, we're discharging grandma today. So this will try to prevent that sort of thing, and make it a little bit easier.
Yeah,
for
it helps
everybody.
things from falling through the cracks, and the giving of medicine and those kinds of things, and wound treatment are very important. It's important they get the adequate instruction at the hospital while they're still there.
Right.
You are stepping down this year after 6 years as AAR president in West Virginia.
Yes.
Any highlights? I mean,
yeah. Well, first of all, let me say we're term limited, which is we have 3 2-year terms is the maximum for a state president in AARP, and that's a good thing, because by nature, if you're a state president of AARP, you're probably not going to be a young person, and if you were to hang around too long, people could probably die waiting for you to leave, people who can do a better job. So it is involuntary, but it's time to move on. Highlights, you know, it's kind of hard to say. I think, honestly, the most positive thing about it is that we have a 5-person staff in this West Virginia state office, and working with them is a joy. If I were going to pick 5 people to interact with on a regular basis, I'd pick those 5.
We should mention the search continues for a new AARP president. I know this because I'm a member. I get your emails wanting to know if I want to be president. I can't. I got my hands full with this job right now.
Well, we encourage applications.
Yeah. AARP.org, and there's links to each of the states, and you can find West Virginia there. So if somebody wants to be president, I know you want the applications in by November 15th.
That is correct.
Let me mention something else on November 15th. You're having the Consumer University Caregiver Connection. This is a seminar over at St. Mary's Hospital in Huntington. People have to register for that, but if you're a caregiver, this is a great opportunity to learn.
Right. And so this illustrates that we do not only work at the legislative level, that we create what we call the consumer universities, where we help folks who are either transitioning into being a caregiver or somebody who's already a caregiver. We have experts in many fields who come in. They may be legal, they may be healthcare professionals.
Again, it's November 15th. Go on to aarp.org, go to the West Virginia link, and you'll find more information. Again, we want to thank Rich Stonestreet, the state president of AARP, for 6 years. Congratulations on your retirement from that. I know you're going to remain quite active.
Thank you. I don't plan to go away completely.
All right, good for you. We're going to see you down at the Capitol. I know that. All right, thanks for watching Inside West Virginia Politics. Don't forget, download us from your favorite podcast location. We'll see you back here next week.